ain't gonna quit.
It's a breakup of the highest magnitude.
Former star teammates jawing at each other.
Are you and KD on speaking terms?
Nah.
He knew he would never win a championship with Russell Westbrook.
Regardless of what happens, it doesn't change the way I live, it doesn't change what I think.
Let me say it again, I'm here to stay.
The Clippers are making a blockbuster trade for Oklahoma City Thunder forward Paul George.
He wanted to play with Kawhi Leonard and asked to be traded.
I motivate myself to be able to be the best player I can be in the world. I don't change for nobody. I do the same thing every night.
The fierce frenzy of Westbrook in full effect.
Every year is something.
The numbers he is putting up are staggering.
Russell Westbrook had mercy.
If they're not talking about you, then you're not doing something right.
The insanity never ends. The NBA offseason took another crazy turn last night as Russell Westbrook was traded to the Rockets. He's joining forces with James Harden to form an explosive backcourt duo. Will, how worried should the rest of the league be about the Rockets?
What's wrong? Why are you staring at me?
I know something's coming. I know something's coming.
Well, brace yourself, because you're about to get hit with some facts again.
Hold on tight.
Oh, my God.
You know what's funny about what Charlie just said is it never ends. It doesn't ever end in the NBA because we're about to have another one when Chris Paul moves on from the Oklahoma City Thunder and who goes in on Chris Paul. But as for now, how worried should the rest of the league be about Westbrook and Harden together in Houston? Not as worried as the Houston Rockets should be about how to fit Westbrook and Harden together. Look, listen, I totally respect what Houston is doing. I respect their risk tolerance. I love that they're willing to go in. I have not debated you or Stephen A or anybody else today about who is the better individual talent at this point in their careers, Westbrook or Chris Paul. Westbrook clearly is, but that's just not the end of the story. In fact, it's the beginning of the story. You pulled off an awesome trade, and you brought in a great player. Now you have to fit them together. Westbrook and Harden, and that is not easy. You cannot just keep waving your hand at the fact that they're virtually identical players and identical in extreme ways. They both need the ball. They're both high usage. They're both ball dominant. They're both drivers.
So nobody should be worried.
I'm sorry?
Nobody should be worried.
Not as much as the Rockets should be worried because they have to figure this out. The only
Why
thing
would the Rockets be worried? How would they not be excited? Happy, Joe? You just got rid of Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook, who's in the middle or at the beginning of a 5-year, $200 million deal that pays him $47 million when he's age 34.
He just averaged 3 straight triple-doubles. Why would they be worried? They got rid of Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook. Chris Paul probably played a little over half the season last year.
Because, as I said to Stephen A. at the top of the show today, this is a riddle that right now I don't know whether or not it's solvable. Can you put Russell Westbrook and James Harden together than the sum of its parts? Right now, I don't know of a single example.
Didn't play the entire season, correct?
I don't know of a single example.
They just signed a guy who didn't play the entire season.
The point is, this project is about itself. The worry should be internal. All of the focus for the Rockets should be on how do we fix this? How do we solve this? How do we put this together?
Did Houston get better? When they swapped out Chris Paul,
yet to be seen.
I'm asking you, right? You can't answer that. So right now on paper, they didn't get better. By youth, by age, by playing, whatever you want to say, they didn't get better.
No, not the last one, playing style. No, and that's why you went quickly. That's why you moved on and smiled.
Yeah, I knew you.
Because playing style is what it's all about. The one thing I can say about Chris Paul, there's questions, as we've talked to Kendrick Perkins, yourself today, there's questions about his personality and about his leadership. But I don't think there are questions about Chris Paul's ability to be a floor general, to understand the right way to play basketball, and therefore put it in the best possible situation when playing next to James Harden. Those same things cannot be said about Russell Westbrook right now. We're soon to find out, and that's what Houston should be worried about.
Chris Paul is one of the most intelligent players in the NBA maybe we've ever seen, and that I've played with. But he doesn't have the same legs. The year before, he gave you everything he got. He was able to break down guys off the bounce. He shot contested threes. He got in the lane. He made plays. His body broke down on him. Hopefully he bounces back. He's healthy. But in all reality, for you to say that the rest of the league is not worried about the Houston Rockets, you got to be kidding me. No, this is a team.
Be clear about what I said.
You said
worried as the Rockets should be.
Those are little things. Those are little things.
Little
This
things.
is a team.
One of the conversations.
Yes, not quite little.
These two
but-
got along already. They were already teammates. So it's not like you're rewriting the book, Will. So this isn't, they've never played. They played together before.
That gives me hope. I agree.
You should have a lot more than hope. This is a team also night in and night out. Their pace is going to be from the 120s to the 130s. In the NBA, that's how you win. You spread the floor, you run, you get up a lot of threes, and now you have two playmakers. See, the thing that we keep harping on with Chris Paul, and I don't want to make this a dog Chris Paul type of day, he didn't have the ability to get in the hole and play downhill. The one thing Russell Westbrook is, outside of Giannis Antetokounmpo, is arguably the best player we've ever seen. We'll throw LeBron in there of getting downhill, getting in the paint, and kicking out the shooters. And might I add, Russell Westbrook loves to pass. He loves to pass, Will.
You pointing out that they've done it together, and Charlie's pointed out to me as well. They have done it together in the past is for reason for hope that this can
That's
work
more than
out.
reason, bro.
Hold on, I'm not done.
You have a sample size, and they went to the NBA
hold on
Finals,
for a
might
second.
I add.
Tap the brakes.
Made it to the Finals.
1 second. Also, the fact that they apparently like each other and that their personalities might fit together better than Harden and Chris Paul's also gives you reason for hope. But you are pretending like there hasn't been years upon years of basketball since those two grown in individual ways. They've grown in prominence. They've grown in star power. They've grown in ball dominance. And they've grown apart. Can they come back together? That's what the Rockets need to worry about.
And in that era in which they were extremely successful but didn't get the ultimate goal, and we both agree would it be a championship, they ran into the Golden State Warriors, the greatest team that we have ever seen play the game of basketball.
Hey, that's my argument for why the Rockets should stand pat. With Chris Paul, they took the Warriors to everything they had.
Just stop saying that. Seriously, just stop saying that. Russell Westbrook is twice the player Chris Paul is right now at this day and age. Now, not saying that Chris Paul wasn't a baller.
How about with James Harden? Because that's all that matters.
It's going to fit.
It's all that matters.
It's going to fit. Check this out.
You've been in the big three too long? Like, all you think about is like 1, 2, 3 guys together?
No, I'm talking
about like 5.
I covered the NBA last year. Outside of playing it for 10 years,
I'm talking about. I want to be clear.
I know
you know
what
I'm talking
about
5-on-5 basketball, right?
I know we're not talking duos anymore. And even when we talk duos, I talk fit. So let me tell you the reality.
Not big three.
Who will we say are the two favorites right now? Shout out Big Three, by the way. Shout out QB. Saw him earlier. Lakers and the Clippers, correct?
What was your question again?
Lakers and the Clippers, we'd say arguably the favorites for a championship. I know you took the field yesterday, but you'll say talent-wise.
No favorites.
And part of your exact reason, Will, to help me out in that you took the field is because they're thrown together in 1 year.
Yep.
There's things they have to figure out from a coaching staff.
Yep.
Players have to find out chemistry. They've got to see how this thing fits. When I'm looking at Houston,
but those duos make sense together.
We're not questioning the talent, but you got to see how it fits. That's why it's a high red alert level of concern when you look at what Houston just did. This is a plug-and-play situation. D'Antoni has a free offense, and part of the reason that James Harden played a lot of isolation basketball is because he had to. There wasn't another healthy body on the floor. There wasn't another scorer or playmaker on the floor. And now when you plug Russell Westbrook in that two-headed attack, you are spacing the floor. You are spreading out the offense. And now it's an easier fit than those
Russell
other guys.
Russell Westbrook shot 29% from 3.
That's got to improve. I'm not fighting that.
That's spacing the floor? 29% from 3.
The ball's in his
One
hands.
of the lowest in the league, and by the way, spot-up shooting.
I agree, but the one thing
inside and outside of 3.
For a big guard, what are the two things you'll say as a guard he does better than anybody in the league right now as a point guard?
Drive to the basket?
Drive to the basket and also rebound the basketball, correct? So when your point guard rebounds the basketball, pushes the ball full court, and gets guys open, that is going to be a night and day difference.
Ryan,
I want to throw something else at you.
The duos you talked about. The thing is, man, I feel like you're dodging the obvious problems, and I don't know why you're doing it. Maybe because you like the guys. I'm not. Maybe because you like the concept of talent accumulation. But you can acknowledge this: LeBron and AD make sense on paper, right? In theory.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Those are my two favorites.
Kawhi and Paul George make sense on paper.
Absolutely.
Fit together doesn't make sense on paper.
I'm looking at system. I'm looking at system, and I don't question Doc's coaching, but Doc is going to have to plug and play and figure things out. I've seen him. I worked with the Clippers last season.
Every one of these duos.
I've seen him try different lineups.
Every one of these duos, Steph and Clay, has a guy who thrives off the ball. Maybe that will be James Harden. James can shoot better than Russ. Maybe it'll end up being Russ handles the ball. James will be like, I don't need to handle it anymore. I'll spot up. I'll shoot. But I am doubtful that James is all of a sudden going to take that secondary role.
Let me give you a stat. I worked on the bounce last year via Turner Sports and Yahoo with my brother, Quentin Richardson. And there's an alarming stat that he kept screaming out all season long. Shout out Knuckleheads Podcast. He said James Harden scored 263 unassisted baskets. That means he had to work harder than anybody in the league and maybe in history at scoring point after point.
Unassisted means that you
had to
were
play
handling
isolation. Exact. So hear me now. Now you put him in a situation where not only did that basketball not win in the playoffs, Will, this guy's not an idiot. He understands it. Now you have the league leader in assists who can rebound the basketball, push, and get him easy buckets. A guy who wants to share the ball.
I can see that Charlie wants to move on. I'll just say this final point on you. Some might call you naive. Others could look at this and say you are eternally hopeful. You can certainly believe people will change. You definitely believe James Harden's about to change.
I believe they're winners. I believe these guys want to win.
Nice rally to have in general, though. All right, well, let's look at the other side of things. We'll shift to the other side of last night's blockbuster trade. Chris Paul was sent to OKC, and league sources tell ESPN that Thunder GM Sam Presti already working with Paul's agents at CAA Sports to redirect the 9-time All-Star to a new team. So, Ryan, what do you think? Where should CP3 land?
Listen, I'm not number punching. I'm not trying to figure too many different things out, but he has to go to Philadelphia. If I'm Chris Paul, I'm on the phone. Philadelphia. I'm on the phones. I'm working the system with my agent. If I'm Elton Brand, I'm calling around seeing if Chris Paul can get a buyout situation because they can't afford that contract. And if he gets in that level, in that offense in Philadelphia, the one thing they desperately need, and no disrespect to Ben Simmons, and maybe they can learn because there's a big enough age gap, a difference there, is they need a floor general. And the one thing we'll say that Chris Paul needs help with, any older, aging player, is defense. You have 4, 5, 6 elite defenders that you can place around Chris Paul. And now you have a nice yin and yang, the age and the youth of Ben Simmons and Chris Paul. And then you look at Joel Embiid. And if you dissect that Philadelphia squad in the playoffs and down the stretch, they have problems a lot of times, Will, executing. Offensively executing. There are times where big fellas going, man, I ain't touched the ball in 5 or 6 possessions. Throw it down. Ben Simmons needs to get some easy backdoor layups. Also, Chris Paul can play off of the basketball because the one thing he can do well is spot up and shoot.
Hey, we talked about Russell Westbrook's one of the lowest on spot up shots.
He's a great shooter. I'm not questioning
This is another reason that I question whether or not the Rockets are better. It's not just about talent accumulation. This is going to be tough. Finding a home for Chris Paul is going to be extremely tough. I think your brain would go, LeBron James, Lakers reunion. I don't know how you make it work with LA.
Rondo's there. You just committed to Rondo.
Yep.
And we know that's probably not working.
Detroit, Lob City.
I don't know if Blake is going for that, brother. I don't know. Blake VG's okay with that.
I'll tell you this, that Rick Carlisle loves 2 ball handlers. Dallas still has room. I don't know if they have anything to send to Oklahoma City that entices them. And so the reason everybody lands on this is that it's a duo league and people keep coming back to Miami. Chris Paul and Jimmy Butler together in Miami. And they might have some young guys to send to OKC.
Well, look at OKC. What do they have right now? They have a lot of draft picks. So maybe they have a multi-team deal in which a team is willing to, offload Chris's contract. I'm not sure. The one thing we got to credit Chris for also is behind the scenes. He's masterful at, orchestrating situations. And I can't see him sitting away with the Thunder. You want to see Chris Paul on a contender and a chance and an opportunity to go win. And I mean, if I'm Philly, I'm screaming for a chance to get this done.
I'll tell you this. We both agree on one thing. Oklahoma City should not be as worried as they might feel today after losing an unprecedented number of stars. KD, Russell Westbrook, James Harden. Stephen A. saying he's never seen that level of talent accumulation result in 0 titles at the top of the show, talking about the job Sam Presti's done. Oklahoma City is chock full of draft picks. They own the draft, along with New Orleans going forward. And that ammo, I want you to think about what that ammo means. It doesn't mean just drafting a bunch of young dudes. It means having the ammo to trade for the next disgruntled star. Whoever that is that needs to move next time.
They're going to be ready.
They're going to be ready.
I'd like to rebuttal what Stephen A. said. And Stephen A. essentially went out and said, how do you have that amount of talent, 3 MVPs on one team, and you don't win a championship or you don't make things happen? At the time that I was playing in the NBA and those moves were made, you won with a power forward center and 2 scorers, essentially. And they played that style of basketball where Durant and Westbrook would shoot volume shots. And the thought process was, we don't need more scoring. We need more defense. Defense and rebounding won you championships. So they moved on and made the move for Kendrick Perkins. They committed to Serge Ibaka rather than James Harden because we didn't value scoring the same way in the NBA that you do now. Now that you look back, they were obvious mistakes. Golden State opened up. They showed us we can win with versatility and three-point shooting. So if I'm Sam Presti, I have faith in Oklahoma City the way they drafted. I mean, Durant, Harden, Westbrook, Jeff Green, these are all guys, homegrown talents in which they had drafted and done well. I love what Oklahoma City's done, and I get the mistakes.
Well, we did ask Twitter to weigh in. We asked everybody to say what they thought. Who won the Westbrook CP3 trade? 64%.
We'll say this about the Rockets. I've drawn questions today, I think appropriate questions, about how this works on the basketball court. But as an experiment in asset management, I love Daryl Morey's risk tolerance. And if it doesn't work, Russell Westbrook